Okay, so I'm going to be presenting my Advanced Algebra Unit 1 exam. Yippee! Super excited because this is the second time that I have presented it, and hopefully this will be the first time that it actually records right. So let's get right into this. Okay, so we'll be going over part 1 first, as you do, in order. Part 1 will be over standard deviation. Standard deviation is just a measure of how spread out numbers are. So as you can see here, visual aid, 0 is spread out or spread away from 1. These numbers are spread out. Moving on. Just in case you were wondering, even if you weren't, just so you know, sigma, right here, sigma, this symbol represents standard deviation. Now, standard deviation, along with being a measure of how spread out numbers are, tells us how far apart the numbers are, just as how very far apart I am from normal people. You see? Normal me. I do hope you are enjoying these visual aids, seeing as how I am not an artist and these do not have too much to do with math. Let's see. A situation that we could use standard deviation in is buying pizza. We want to find how far, what the deviation between the average size pizza to the small or to the large pizzas are. So right here, this would be our average size pizza. If we had it in a data set, or it would look like this, and right here would be our pizza, our average pizza. So, and then the big pizza would be here, and the small pizza would be there, and these are just one standard deviation away from the average pizza, as you can see there. So that would be a real world situation we could use it in. Moving on to part 2. As you can see, there is a question mark beside part 2. That is because I do not fully understand it, and I will be coming to you tomorrow, or later on after this recording, I should say, to ask you about part 2. Hopefully I will have already come to you before you see this video about part 2, and I will be able to do something about that. It will probably be turned in on paper because I am recording this video far beforehand. So since we can't do part 2, let's do part 3. Part 3 is about empirical rule. Empirical rule is fun. So let's get into it. Okay, so with empirical rule, what is empirical rule? It is a statistical rule stating that all data is within 3 standard deviations during normal distribution. So that is the what and the when. When is it used? During normal distribution. So we have, as you can see here, this is normal distribution. So it states that 68% of all the data is within one standard deviation to the left and the right, and 95% is to 2 standard deviations to the left and the right, and 99.7% is within 3 standard deviations to the left and the right of the data. All the rest would be left out here, doesn't really matter. So why do we use it? Because it makes finding data much easier. Very simple. So if we, I guess we'll use a real world example here. Let's say this data that we have here is from a basketball team's scores over a given season. So right here would be the mean of all the data, and if we wanted to find the we wanted to find the percent that their scores were one standard deviation away from the mean, or in between one standard deviation and the mean, we would come down here, and since it's only one, we would split this in half, and it would be above the mean. I forgot to mention how often they were in between or above above the mean and below one standard deviation. So we would split this in half, which would be 68 divided by 2, 34%. So that's our answer, 34%. Their scores were in between their mean and one standard deviation away from their mean 34% of the time. Moving on, we will go to part 4. Part 4, yay, we are almost done. Part 4 will be over the z-score. Little difficult here. I will admit, firsthand, I have no idea what I could have drawn for a visual aid. This is the best I could come up with. It will come in use later on, not right away though. What is a z-score? A z-score is a statistical measurement of a score's relationship to the mean in a group of scales. Scores, I should say. Sorry. I have such bad handwriting, even I can't read it. When would we use a z-score? We would use it when we're finding the percent of data in a more specific area, which is actually the same as the y of this part 4. When and why? When you are finding the percent of data in a more specific spot or area. So a real-world example to show this off better would be, let's say, going back to the basketball team's example, we want to find their score just at a random spot, not a full standard deviation, not half of a standard deviation, just a random spot on here. We want to find their score in between here and here. We would use z-score to find that because we could go more specifically in depth to find the percentage of time that they are in between this point and this point. Thank you for watching my presentation. I hope it was good enough because I want to achieve. And that was a really stupid thing to say. But anyway, I hope I did good, and I will be talking to you about part 2 as soon as I can. Once again, thank you for watching, and goodbye.